That's because truth exists outside of perception, dude. It does. Truth is not beholden to anything. That is the thing that people don't understand. That people want to think that they live in a world where they get to dictate what the fucking what the reality is. The reality doesn't get dictated; it gets observed. Reality only is something that you can think you're in control of. You are not in control of shit. What you are in control of is how you educate your understanding or lack of understanding, because it's impossible to fully comprehend life in this form as these beings. It's what you're left with. It's not that. The truth isn't that. It isn't something that can be decided upon. It doesn't work like that. It exists outside of you. It exists outside of your interaction with it. It is an entity that is beyond even the conceptualization of man. We don't have a grasp. We don't have a full comprehension of what that is, because it is too far beyond what we are to fully grasp it in its entirety. That's the thing. It's in its entirety. It is greater. Dude, this is like the world's religions figured this out a long time ago. It's an incomprehensible. The truth has an incomprehensible nature to it. This is why we have to fill in the gaps. This is why we kneel down to the gods. Is because that's the only fucking choice we have, is to submit to something that can understand what we cannot, because we cannot. It is impossible. It's impossible to grasp that which is not fully graspable. You understand that the truth. That's where the truth exists. That's where the truth lives. It lives in a space of uncertain. But this is what people confuse. People confuse this. They think that when you say that, it means that truth lives in a place of uncertainty. It lives in an uncertain realm. That is not true. See what that's what we do when we say that, is we prescribe the perfection to man. We prescribe the perfection to us, which is the incorrect move, because we all know that we're so far from perfect. But that's our tendency to do. That's what we thought the universe revolved around the earth for however many years. Hundreds of years, thousands of years, whatever. And so it's like that is the piece of it that people miss. And it leads them to these weird places. When people think they fully understand the world, they start doing crazy shit. They start getting in cults. They start, killing other people in the name of whatever they have come to think is true. But they are under some perception of that. That's the thing. And we're always under a perception. We're always under a perception of something. But it's like when you go and prescribe a certainty to something that is ungraspable in its entirety, you are acting as a god. You are trying to educate the fringes of the universe, not even the fringes, the fringes of understanding. The proper thing to do in when you are faced with something so awesome that it is ungraspable, that it is unknowable, the proper thing to do is kneel down in humility before that thing. Instead, people try to proclaim a mastery of such. They proclaim mastery over something which is impossible to even understand. But that does not mean that it is not real. That's the side of the coin that people also forget to go to this length, is to understand this thing exists. Whatever it is, it does exist. but it's at a place that you will never get to. So we sit here in our confusion and in our meek, small human form, and we look at the universe and what it is, and it is something. But people do one of two things. People either say we know what it is, which, I mean, the arrogance, or they say it's nothing, because they throw up their hands and they say we'll never get there. And it's like, nah, just be at peace with your own imperfection. Be at peace with the humility. Have the humility to accept the fact that you're not perfect enough to understand this, but then have the courage to live your life anyways. And that's the place to be, man, because you allow yourself to understand as much as you can how things actually operate. But then you actually get to move forward in the world and say, hey, I'm going to make the best of it anyways. Instead of the people who want to say that who have to say we know everything, who have to have the answers, those are fearful. Those are people that live in fear of the unknown. Man, embrace the unknown is not there to scare you. It's there to be wondered at. And it's there it leaks out pieces of itself to you. That's what our perception is. We have this perception of what it is, and it's formed over a period of time. It's formed over a lifetime. And how close can we delve to the heart of the truth? Maybe we'll never get there, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. And that's the point. People want to throw away all the things in the universe because we say we will never know. It's like, well, that's not a great move. I think when people do that, that's someone who's actually looking for something else. They're saying in this transaction, they've got an ulterior motive. They got we want to say the world is broken so that they can waltz in and say we have the answers. If the world's unknowable, someone has to come and save us. And that's what these people come and try to do when they try to prescribe the answers to an unanswerable question. And the arrogance of doing that will be punished, because we all know that when you attempt to play God, you get smited down. And again, these aren't religious aspirations. I don't prescribe to any religion, but these are thematic elements to our understanding of what life is. So I'm borrowing these tent poles of formation from these institutions of thought, which have progressed our society to where we are now. What I'm doing with that is I'm using them to explain, because everyone speaks that language, right? Everyone speaks the language of religiosity and belief, because that's how we are even able to comport ourselves within this world. Because it is a problem. It is a problem that we have to face, is that we don't know everything. And that is, it's not trivial. I mean, that is something to be confronted. It is something to come up. It gives us problems. We get a lot of problems when we're not able to fully explain things, because it leaves spaces for people to try to fill in, and people aren't great at that. Because we have to agree on something. This is this is the problem. Okay, we have to since the truth is something that's so massive and awesome that we'll never fully understand it. We have to come up with some sort of understanding of it in the wake of that. And as human, and we do a bad job of that. Unless we get in situations where we're starting to give all the answers. But it's like when we have to fill in the gaps without knowing the full thing, people freak out. People start to lose their minds, because they're not, some people need that. They need to feel like they're given every semblance of everything, and not knowing something, again, it's built in a fear. It's built in a place of fear. It's built in a place of not understanding. It's built in a place of confusion, and that confusion throws people out of the window. It throws them out of society, man. They freak out. But It's that, but we got to understand that that's a trap. That's a trap. That's being weaker than the situation. The situation calls for, again, it calls for courage. It calls for humility. Accept the fact that we don't know and we'll never know. We may never know. We try to know. We seek to know, but the entirety of the answer, we might never get it. But you still have to have the courage to go live your life without freaking out. You can't freak out. I think that is the question of our time, is that if we cannot agree on how to understand the world, are we going to freak out and destroy everything as an answer? Is that the answer, is to freak out and destroy fucking everything? Because that's what we see. That's what we see. People that are not agreeing on how to understand the truth, which we are not able to fully grasp. And in that confusion, everything's starting to destroy itself. And that's where we're at. That's the death of God. That's the scientific endeavor gone wrong. is that we've come to the understanding that actually we don't know everything, and some people can't handle it. But you just gotta fucking accept it, because it ain't changing. Not anytime soon.